We're live.
Hey guys, Jacob here. I'm joined by Kristen Smith, Evan DeGraff, and Aaron Turner from the Schmodown Rundown. Today, we're going to have a pretty serious conversation about some of the events that occurred earlier today. Kristen, I'll get you to take it from here. How are you feeling, and what did? Yeah, I'll get you to just take it from here at the moment.
Yeah, this whole situation is, I mean, I would like to say unbelievable, but it's not, because this kind of shit happens more and more, and it becomes less and less surprising when it does. The fact that it somewhat hits close to home, as you might say, is a little bit more of a shock, because you never like to think that someone that you watch or support would do this kind of thing. Um, and so it feels a little bit more, I don't know, like shocking, I guess, that it's someone that, like, I've been subscribed to their channel for a long time. I've watched a lot of their content, and it's overall just something that is hard to explain, the feelings that are happening and the amount of people that this has impacted. And the longer this situation is coming out, the more and more people are saying things, the more and more people are coming out and talking about it. And there have been some pretty big names that have come out and said that this has impacted them. Uh, it's it's something that is not fun to talk about at all, but is very important for open and honest discussion to happen around it. Um, and so, kind of as we talk about this, we don't have an agenda. We don't have like a let's hit these points. This is just a discussion surrounding this topic. Obviously, we do want to give our support and also our condolences to the people that this has impacted. And we do support anyone who comes out and legitimately has a claim against someone. And so if you're a victim of harassment, it can be a guy or a girl. Not just girls are victims of harassment, but if you are a victim of harassment, make sure that you are coming forward. Make sure you do find help. And that's the most important thing, is that being silent about it does not help anybody. And it certainly does not help yourself, but we will try and be as respectful as possible during our conversations. So if anyone has anything to say, this is going to be like the least structured discussion we've ever had on the channel. So jump in. I'm not moderating it, but I feel like I'm moderating it. So
it is going to be very unstructured and very much, look, these are just our uncensored thoughts. Aaron, what's going through your head right now, mate?
It's shockwaves, man, because you hear this initial news, and I mean, we all talk to people in this space. We've done it. We've interviewed them. We've talked to them outside of traditional means, if you will. And to an extent, you form a relationship with some of these people, and you feel close to them. And something like this happens, and it just, your heart breaks for them, because you're not right there with them to be there for them, but you can support them, and that's important as well. I think my first thought was it's another thing that's just too common. Like, it's just, you hear about this all the time, like in the media with Bill O'Reilly and Harvey Weinstein and other people like that. It's just, it keeps happening, and there's more that are unspoken. And when the first reports started coming out, I think when we were all talking in a chat, I was like, this is the tip of the iceberg. Like, it's just going to keep going and going and going, because there's no way that this guy got away with just like one or two. There's no way. And lo and behold, we found that out, and it sickens me, of course, obviously, the outrage of this. But you have people in your own camp like Roth and Alicia and Sasha that have told their stories online about these things that had happened to them in their life through, they were brave enough to tell their stories, and that whole time there was a wolf right at the door. And it sickens me.
Yeah, it's one of those things that is just that, like, especially the last 2 weeks, especially. I mean, we see what happened with Harry Knowles. We've now seen what happens with Harvey Weinstein. Like, Harvey Weinstein was the producer of the 90s. Like, there was no one bigger in Hollywood than Harvey Weinstein. And, Harry Knowles is someone who started he was one of the founders of this online space. But what upset me the most, look, and this is emblematic of a bigger discussion that we need to get into. But what upset me the most was that Defy Media, so the company that controls Screen Junkies, their HR department knew, and the allegations against them are that they didn't do anything, and that we have been hearing that story too many times, and that is something that to me is emblematic of a larger problem within the culture of the film industry. But Evan, what are your thoughts on this at the moment?
I'm obviously a lot younger than you guys here, and it's weird because you don't hear about this as someone who goes to high school. And then when I got wake of the news after I got out of school, I was like, wait, this Screen Junkies guy. And then I saw that it was, someone who I've grown up with, you could say, in JTE, and someone who he's close with, and then just the domino effect of everything crumbling down. It affected me more than I thought it would, because these things happen and they shouldn't. But when you get caught up in your own life, you don't worry about others. And I think that's what a lot of us have an issue with in today's society. It's just like, oh, this happened, we need to move, it's whatever. But once you actually catch wake in the seriousness of the issue, some of the stories that were being told, some of the memories that I've been reading on Twitter and on different media platforms, it's unbelievable. Because for someone that I looked up to, Andy Signore, he almost made an empire, you could say. And then to hear about this, it's just another scum. But the issue is it's not that. You're gonna get those people, which is sad, but it's the facts that the HR in Screen Junkies and Defy Media just kept it going for this long. And the allegations, which are true, the facts that multiple people trying to support, the victims of these cases, we're trying to lift them up and go to the HR department and be like, hey, can you get this fixed? They did nothing about this. Nothing. Just blows my mind. And it, for me, truly shows the reform that this needs right now. That this culture and society that we're in and the community that we're in needs reform. Doman, I see that you're here. What are your thoughts?
Hey guys, so unfortunately, because I'm still at work, I only have a limited amount of time to give, so I'm pretty much just going to give my overall thoughts, and then I'll probably have to buzz out. But I have been following Screen Junkies since roughly 2013-ish, around the time the Honest Trailers was getting started up. I've been a longtime fan of the Screen Junkies show, and and I've been a fan of Andy Signore, even though, sure, he had some iffy judging calls on movie fights, but supported him, and I liked what he was doing. And every time he was on the Schmodown, I thought it was really cool. But then I hear this news, and as I'm as I'm getting ready for work, I'm trying to, follow up on this as much as I possibly can. And I'm seeing the evidence defy what the fuck happened. And I'm sorry for cussing, guys, but seeing this genuinely upsets me. It upsets me on so many different levels. It upsets me. It upsets me as a person because these is basic human rights 101, and this is being denied to the people that that have been having these struggles. Which is again emblematic of a larger problem. It upsets me as a fan because I supported this channel when this was happening, and I feel awful about that. I'm upset as a head because I myself also run a YouTube channel. I run this channel, and here's the thing: if let's say I were to do this, do a similar thing like what Annie did, if I did that to Kristen, I would expect her to quit. Sorry to just use an example, Kristen, but
that's okay, I guess.
Thanks. But if I were to do a similar thing with Kristen, I would expect her to quit instantly, and I would expect her to try to take me down in addition to that. And
you wouldn't have to worry about me. You'd have to worry about my world championship powerlifter husband.
True, I would. But my question to Andy is, how the fuck did he think he'd get away with this? Here's the thing. Yeah, he does, he was the boss of a growing media empire, but no matter what, you're still a human. You can be taken down with a single word, a single picture, or in the cases of some people, a single bullet. There's always a way to stop this stuff. And until people can get this through their fucking heads that, hey, don't do this. Now, I'm not going to act like I'm completely innocent in this kind of stuff because, sure, I've had coworkers that I harmlessly flirted with on both sides. That is one thing because that has no consequences, and for the most part, and the repercussions of that aren't necessarily that great. And I explained this earlier on my personal Twitter. But when you are using your power to leverage over someone else, to take someone else's power away from them, that's when it's a problem. And I'm just sickened that it took Defy Media this long to even just acknowledge that there was an issue. I'm sickened. Absolutely sickened. And one final thought. I want to applaud everybody who has been coming forward to support April and Emma, whether that is JTE, Christian Harloff, Jen Sturger, just who has been just getting the message across that this is not cool, and Defy really needs to be held accountable for this. So to every one of you, thank you.
I think so, Chris. I think what that is that comes to a bigger discussion that needs to be had about where, like, how is Defy, like, how are the culture surrounding, because one, I used this, I said this earlier when we were all talking, that someone is can be a creep, and that is going to happen. That is just simply going to happen. Someone is going to be a creep. It's how do we stop that person being a creep from affecting everyone else? And what we are seeing through the allegations and what we are seeing through what people have been saying is that instead of protecting the other people, they were protecting the creep. And that's not right. And that is the thing that hurt me the most, is that, and I'm not trying to put this all on, hey, this is how I felt. Because this, I'm a 24-year-old white guy. Like, I don't really, I don't deal with this stuff on my own, but knowing people and knowing this community that I am a part of and that I love and that I have spent the better half of my adulthood giving, like, absolutely loving and spending every single time I can watching their stuff. This is something that has hurt me more than I ever thought it would. It has hurt. This morning, I woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning. I rolled over, I checked my phone, and I saw it happen, and I've been awake since. I couldn't go back to sleep after that. And Kristen, do you want to just go from there?
Yeah, so I had been out enjoying a day off today, and came back to just like hundreds of messages, and this was all kind of coming out like right when I was getting back online. And yeah, I mean, it's just a situation that you don't necessarily understand how to deal with it unless you've unfortunately been in a similar situation. And for people who have been victims of this type of thing, you unfortunately understand the amount of courage that it takes to come forward with something like this, because our society is such a bad place for victims, where a victim can come out and say that something has happened to them and they get attacked about it, or they get questioned about it, or they aren't taken seriously. And it's a real problem with our society where yes, you should be given the chance to prove your innocence, but at the same time, if someone is coming out and saying that something has happened to them, they should not be immediately ignored or thought bad of. And that's what typically happens. Now, I feel a little bit better about this situation only because once this all started coming out, the majority of the posts and comments that I saw were very supportive. And that is unfortunately an abnormality to this kind of situation. I've been involved in a few, and I've had friends that have been involved in some of these types of things. And normally you are met with a lot of negativity or suspicion, or comments of just really negative and nasty comments. And so I'm at least slightly happy that people are saying that they will stand up and support the people that are coming out. I've seen so much support for April, and Brienne also had a message on Twitter about this, and Emma, and countless others. I've seen so many images today on Twitter of just people coming forward, and I've seen so much support, and that is something that I hope can continue. But there is a bigger problem in this society that needs to be fixed before that support can make a difference, unfortunately. And so please continue to offer support. Please continue to say that you will support people, but at the same time, you have to show that too. And that's the bigger issue, is people don't like coming forward because they are not offered that support. They believe that they cannot. They believe that it's not safe for them to come forward. They believe that they are the one at fault. There are all these reasons why people do not come forward in this kind of situation, that as people who are friends of these or coworkers of these people, like if you see something happening, you need to say something. Like if I'm working at a job and I see someone being harassed, it's my job as a human being to step in. And there are a lot of cases where that does not happen. So saying you support someone is great and is very helpful. But at the same time, as a human race, we all need to step in and be much, much better at recognizing the signs of abuse, recognizing the signs of harassment, and not letting people assume that it's okay for this kind of behavior to continue.
No. And something that really hit me today was when I saw Joelle post from the Schmoes Know a live show. She posted, I believe, April. And the fact that she had to post that was something that I just found that she had to post it. And it was, how is this not automatically 100% automatically, yeah, this is believed. There's fucking screenshots, everything is there. How is she not believed straight away? And why does it take to this point? And that hurt a lot. Aaron, how did you feel about all this?
Well, Andy Signore, can't say it enough. It's Andy Signore that we are talking about. I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah.
Chris, going back to what you said a minute ago when you were like, how did Andy think he could get away with this? Andy, it's a power play. It's all about power, and it's all about thinking that you're bigger than everybody, that you'll get away with it because you're the man in charge. And who's going to step to the man in charge? Nobody. It's not true. And today we found out that that's not true. And it's people like that just think they can get away with everything and nothing's going to happen to them. And now you will lose everything. Everything is gone. It's like, it's the tip of the iceberg. Everything's going to crumble for that. And I don't know. I don't know. Like, where do you go? Like, all you can do is you could support these people. You can support your friends. You can support people that you made friends with in this space and believe them and support them in any way you can. Even if you're far away, you can still help them by offering, you can talk to them. You can just be a shoulder, be an ear to listen, and just listen. That's all you have to do. You don't just, for everybody that has, like we've all said, for everybody that stepped forward, I think that's incredible. You've put everything on the line to do so. And for you to take that risk is just, I don't, yeah. More in a moment, but for now, yeah.
It's one of, like, we don't have the answers, and that's like we are with five people on YouTube sitting here talking because this is something that we feel needs to be talked about because no one does have this conversation. This isn't a conversation that anyone likes to have, and people try to avoid it as best they can, and that is not right. So look, we are five people on the internet having a talk about a very, very important and serious issue inside mainstream, inside what I'm perceiving as the film industry, because that is three massive cases in a week. Not including what happened last year with Devin Faraci and the Alamo Drafthouse, which was, again, another thing. We are seeing these signs over and over and over again, and that's why I am what happened with Andy pisses me off. He is a disgusting creep. But what happened with Defy Media is what's driven me to the point where I am furious. Because you knew and you did nothing. And that is what drives me absolutely fucking insane and absolutely furious. Evan, where are you at?
Sorry to cut in, but do you mind if I just give my final thoughts and then I have to get back to work?
Go ahead.
Thank you, guys. So I almost have to liken the situation a little bit to, as some of you guys might recall, back in 2009, the Chris Brown Rihanna incident, where everybody was, and here's the thing, yes, at the very first second, everyone was on Rihanna's side, but then slowly but surely, these Chris Brown supporters came right out of nowhere. Because, they could not physically, believe the evidence when it was right there in front of them. And that's where we're getting these minorities who this very loud vocal where people are, really coming after April and Emma and trying to discredit them to sort of, and same with Defy. It's like, no one's gonna actually believe you because, we're the system. But that's the fucking problem. If the system could stop telling you, hey, your evidence means nothing because this person is more powerful than you. And going back to what you said, Aaron, yes, technically speaking, Andy had more power over them. But here's the difference. That power was given to him by us, the fans. And guess who has the ability to take away that power from Andy? Us, the fans. I've already unsubscribed from Screen Junkies, and I will probably never watch a video of theirs again. And if I can just give my 2 cents one last time, I recommend you guys do the same. And do the same wherever else you see the crap like this. And going back full circle with the whole Chris Brown Rihanna thing, Chris Brown's album sales have dropped exponentially ever since that incident. He's never had a platinum selling record since then. So that's actually the fans showing that they're not going to just accept a living piece of shit. Whereas Rihanna, she took off. She's been on an all-time streak ever since. So, when you stop showing support to assholes like this, and you show support to people who actually deserve it, they will go far. And those less than savory people will finally, get through the head that, hey, guess what? You're about to lose everything, because as soon as you do that, you're making a castle of sand. And guess what, motherfucker? This is the tsunami. So it's coming down. And Andy, you were, it was fun having you around while you lasted, but I hope to God you never get a job again. So that's my 2 cents. And sorry, guys, I wish I had more time to spend with you, but I hope that this little chat we're all having can just inspire some of you guys to maybe change the way you're approaching things like this in the future. So thank you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Chris.
Evan. Thanks, Chris.
Something I want to touch on really quick is I really want to see something happen legally to Defy. I don't know how or where you start because it's hard for a lot of people to bounce back from this, and I completely understand why. But in order for something to actually change, in order to shake a big company, it has to happen to Defy, because they can drop Andy Signore and they'll be perfectly okay with that. I'm not necessarily sure how. I'm not big in the legal system. I just know that one of the only ways to actually affect and make change in the big corporations where this is a systematic thing and where it's getting worse and worse every day is some kind of legal action has to be taken, and that's what's going to hit them hard. So that's where I'm at right now, because sadly, that's the system that we live in. We live in a place where, the big companies win, the people with the money win, and who has the most money usually is just the big white men, and that's where we're at.
I want to chime in if I can real quick. I want to talk about something that it's kind of off radar, but I look at, and I say us as I mean just us as like entertainment takers and people that comment on YouTube and things we see a lot. You see these comments and it's like, even on videos that we like, even Screen Junkies videos, like movie fights or something, you'd see like, oh man, and I'm just using this just purely example. I don't know if this was ever said. I'm sure it was. It's like, oh man, Clark Wolf, so sexy without her glasses. It's like, that's so fucking stupid and tone deaf. And like, that's where the pieces of it start, is right there. When you say something like that, like, oh, not Clark, man, she's a great competitor. She's really smart, knows her genre. Oh man, love her without her glasses. She should never wear her glasses again. That's stupid. Like, what do you hope to accomplish? You think Clark's going to go out with you because of that? You think, no, she's going to look at that and be like, oh, fuck this. And that's the kernel. That's where it starts. And I feel like, we're YouTube. We create things on YouTube, all of us. And I'm sure that there have been more unsightly comments to people that, they don't even care to say. But I think that's the kernel of where it starts. So you curb it there in terms of YouTube as a space, just using that space. Curb it there, you could help. But let's just think. I want everybody to just kind of think before you make a comment like that. Like, these people have families, they have, husbands, they have boyfriends, they have, girlfriends, brothers, sisters, dad, mother, all this. So think about maybe when you comment that somebody has like a nice ass, or, oh, great boobs, I'd love to see your boobs, like some stupid shit like that. Like, maybe think about that before you comment, and just think about how that's going to affect the person, because you may think it's like not funny, like it's a playful jab, like, oh, they'll love it. It's just, no, it's terrible. And it makes them feel like shit, actually. So just something to keep in mind.
Definitely. And it is. I mean, some of the things that we've been hearing, and I do want to, Chris said something about, hey, I've unsubscribed to Screen Junkies and all that. And I get it. I get that sentimentality. And this is me. I could be completely way off on this. And I am just saying this now as Jacob Blunden, who is probably ignorant and stupid. But Screen Junkies does hire some fantastic personalities. Some of the best movie personalities working in the industry today. Dan Merle, Spencer Gilbert, Joe Starr, Roth Cornett, Sacha Pearl Raver. These are some of the greatest personalities in film working today. And I would hate to see them not without a job because this creep because they had to sack this creep, and because of this creep, everyone else quit Screen Junkies. I would hate to see these people these people suffer because of this creep, and that is one thing that I am worried about. Now, look. They are incredible personalities. I'm sure that they will be able to get a job anywhere within Hollywood, but I know that Hollywood is a very, very competitive industry, and that is something that could potentially hurt them. And it sucks to think that. And absolutely, and I am, look, again, I am probably completely way off mark here. But Kristen, am I off mark, or is that something that needs to come into play?
No, this is a difficult situation because Screen Junkies was not just Andy. It was Hal and Dan and Spencer and people behind the scenes like JTE, who is still going to be working there. In my mind, if we boycott Screen Junkies, we are also boycotting people who have come forward and said, we will support the victims in this. We will refuse to go to work if action is not taken and if investigations are not made. We are in that case punishing the fact that people will step up and will support others and will actually take action. And that's what the other guys at Screen Junkies have done. They have done their part to make it very clear that they do not support Andy in this if the allegations are accurate, which the amount of them, it's hard to believe that they couldn't be. And the fact that there are like images and pictures of harassment, like, it's in my mind, I know we're in a system of innocent until proven guilty, but it's hard to argue with what is there in front of you. But the guys at Screen Junkies have all come forward and said that they will not work in an environment that, you know, supports any kind of harassment. And if we go and unsubscribe to Screen Junkies, we're hurting them as much as we are making a statement. And so it's a difficult situation because you do want to make that statement, especially to the network, because Defy Media needs to do something to make this right. It's not just, okay, we're going to suspend Andy. Well, great, you should. I mean, the fact that he's suspended should have not been something that needed to be announced. It should have just been like, oh, you're gone. But they also need to do something to make the fact that they tried to cover this up. I mean, really, they did. They tried to cover this up. As far as I'm concerned, like, there were multiple people who came forward to them and said there was an issue. If you have more than one person who comes to you and says, hi, this person has sexually harassed me, you should damn well make that your priority to figure out if there is something wrong or not, instead of just saying, sorry, there's no case, we can't do anything about it. Like, that is unbelievable to me. So it's hard for me to say, no, be subscribed, that's fine. But it's also hard for me to say unsubscribe, because there's other people on that channel that impacts. Personally, I would like to wait until I hear what people like, not Andy, he can go to hell, what people like Dan and Spencer and Hal and JTE, you know, what they are going to do. Because they are the ones who I support in this. You know, I support the women who came forward. I support the men who are standing beside them. And if they are the ones who we are hurting by unsubscribing, then that is the last thing I want to do. I want them to say, hey, make a statement, unsubscribe. We're going to go make our own channel somewhere else. I will be there. And I will have 10 friends sign up with me if that's what needs to do. But until that time, I am still subscribed, but I am also waiting on Defy Media. So they need to do something drastic to make this right.
I do want to bring up something that the comment section's just also brought up. Look, I don't know the people at Screen Junkies personally. I've never met them. I've actually never really talked to them other than a few Twitter exchanges. I have every confidence, though, that the main on-screen talent of Screen Junkies, Dan Merle, Roth Cornett, Sasha Pell-Raver, Spencer Gilbert, Joe Starr, I have every confidence, and I have to believe this, is that they had no idea. If they knew, that is a different question, and that is a different conversation that will be that needs to happen down the line. I do have every confidence that they have no idea. The reaction today suggests that they had no idea, but it is something that is being brought up in the comments about how if all these people knew, how did they not know? Danny has been putting up a lot of things on Twitter about I don't know the full situation.
Danny Fernandez, by the way, guys.
Danny Fernandez,
a
sorry.
comedian
Yeah.
in Hollywood.
She had put up a thread earlier that was heartbreaking to read, but also very informative of this was where she was. She has been pushing Defy Media and HR and Defy Media, and she was the one going forward with all this. Now, I don't know if this is true. I'm going based off a Twitter thread. So I could be completely wrong about this. I just need this is hard to talk about because I don't want to sound like I'm insensitive or anything like that. I'm trying to illustrate that I do not know everything that has actually happened. But this is one of those things where also there are people who knew about this and did nothing. She has said if she sees you say something, say that you had no idea, and she knows that you did, she will call you out. And so far, she hasn't called out anyone from Screen Junkie, any of the on-screen personality of Screen Junkies. So that's comfort that I have in it, that they have it, that they're not involved in this. Look, I could be completely wrong. Aaron, is that anything that's come up with you?
I have no knowledge. I haven't even seen this thread that you're talking about, but I'll go back and check it out. The thing that worries me, Jacob, is, and I know what you said there, like you want to believe that. I want to believe that too. Do I think that's what happened? No. I think somebody knew. And I don't mean, I'm not calling anybody out. I have no inkling of who that may be, but it's something where I think I want to give the benefit of the doubt that maybe they didn't understand the full extent, or maybe they kept themselves in the dark and just wrote it off as like, it's just being goofy. But there's no way that there's this many and this guy that's around all these people. Somebody didn't think something was wrong. That's where I'll leave it. I'm not making accusations because for many reasons, but I don't have any evidence. But I'm just saying, yeah, it seems fishy to me that nobody knew. Everybody knows nothing. It seems weird. It seems weird to me.
Evan, what are your thoughts?
I think a big part where I'm struggling is, I want to go back to this, unsubscribe to Screen Junkies and no longer support them. Big part of where I'm struggling is if you continue to support them, then Defy Media wins. And that's an issue I'm having. I think they said up to 5 months they've known about some of the allegations that were being made. 5 months is ridiculous. The amount I can get done in 5 months. This is human resources we're talking about. It's their job to get these kind of things sorted. It's their job to make sure that whoever the creep was, in this case it was Andy Signor, either 1, fix, or 2, out. Hopefully number 2. And nothing was done. And this is where I'm struggling in my head, like, legal action should be taken. We should unsubscribe. We should do something to hurt this company. So then the other companies are actually put on watch. So then we have Warner Brothers that are put on watch. So then we have Fox News are put on watch, CNN, all these media companies, Disney, all these different big, huge companies are put on watch because something actually hurt them. Their money intake was actually hurt because they made a big, drastic mistake in hurting people's emotional and mental lives, which is just wrong, pure wrong. And because it's a big company, because it's one of those, gigantic suit and tie types of things, if they're not hurt, I don't know what change will be made in the industry. And that's what's scaring me here.
Yeah. And that comes back to what I was saying earlier, is this culture. This culture is a huge issue that they are allowed to get away with this. And I'm not trying to say that everyone in the film industry is an awful human being. They're not. We have a whole channel dedicated to the amazing crew. We have a whole channel basically dedicated to that. And so does Aaron. Aaron makes a living dedicating towards a show that he absolutely adores. And but there is a dark side of the film industry that is one of those things that everyone knows about and no one talks about it. And that is the problem, and they need to start talking about it. Brienne in the chat does bring up that it was since July, but maybe something came in earlier. We don't know. Again, we don't know. You have the best experience out of all of us, but go and enjoy. And she just said, she's going to a birthday party. Go and enjoy it. Yeah, please have your mind focused elsewhere. I know it won't always be. I hope. Our thoughts are with you and everyone. We support you completely, and we thank you so much for this as well. Kristen, anything else?
Yeah, you know you have my full support in all this, Brian. You're a great human being, and I love interacting with you on Twitter and everything. But you obviously know what you need to do to get yourself in the right state of mind. So go have fun, enjoy your birthday party or someone else's birthday party. But yeah, we fully support you and everyone else who came out today. Yeah, are we done talking or are we just saying goodbye to Brian?
I think we're just saying goodbye to Brian.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah.
Look, this is just a giant group therapy session, I guess. It's kind of
it's just spitballing here.
We're all kind of shaking. We're like, I don't know what else to say. I'm shaking. Like I don't expect things like this to happen because I'm still young. I haven't experienced as much as the other three on this panel have. Not saying that they're old, but they're older than me. So it's just something that I've yet to fully understand. You know.
Well, I want to say this real quick. Like, we had an amazing opportunity at Star Wars Celebration to hang out with these people. Like, Andy was there. I met Andy. Evan was there. I met Andy Signore. I shook the man's hand and said, "Hey, came over. Screen Junkies helped me get into schmoes and all that kind of stuff." So I had Andy to thank for that. So I wanted to say, appreciate the content. But no matter what we did there, no matter where I saw Andy or when I was around him, there just always seemed to be an air of just, I don't know, something just seemed off. And I can't speak for anybody else that interacted with him. It's just my experience. Like, it just seemed like the people that you think that maybe he would be close with and hanging and all that kind of stuff, like, they didn't. It's just him and his people. And that's weird. Like, even now looking back, that's weirder. But it just always seemed like there's a different, when he would come to the room, it was a different air, if that makes any kind of sense. Like people acted a different way, kind of not like they were walking on eggshells, but just kind of like it was uneasy. Like they didn't want to, like, I don't want to approach you, I kind of deal. Like it was a little bit standoffish, but just seemed different. I don't know if you had that experience, Evan. I don't know if you even got to talk to the guy, but that's how I felt. Like it seemed weird.
It was weird. I now have the thought in my head, because I got to see him on the floor during Celebration, that I shook a guy's hand of a man who has harassed so many in this community of so many people who I look up to. Like that's just, I shook his hand and I said, "You make great content." That does something. Like, just put in perspective, you shook a hand of a guy who has affected so many people in a space that you want to participate in and be interactive with other people. That just shakes you. And he's like, "Oh, it was the typical, hey, you're a fan kind of interaction." But there were three people there, and it was him, Jenny Nicholson, I think her name is, and a camera guy. They were just kind of standing around, and it was just weird. Like, thinking back, I now see what you're saying, and putting it into perspective. It's quite an odd scenario, and I'll take back what I said there. Celebration was quite an odd scenario with the whole Screen Junkies thing, and now when you put it into perspective today, it makes sense. I know Jacob and Kristen didn't have that experience, but do you have anything to build or add?
Well, as I've, like I said, I've never met any of them. I never met Andy. I've never met anyone from Screen Junkies or Collider. But look, that's kind of where I can't add anything, because all I saw was the YouTube personality of him. And, there were times that he seemed like, and it's one of those difficult things, because, you hear the offhanded comment and you hear some of these other comments, and you think, when you hear them, you go, "Oh, that was wrong." And then you see some of the reactions of the panelists when anyone says one of those offhanded comments, and the panelists, and
Jacob,
they kind of realize,
or is it just Frozen Evan?
No, I'm still here. I'm still here.
It's Frozen Evan.
It's okay. But anyway, but that was how I always saw it. Kristen, anything?
No, I don't know. I used to watch Screen Junkies a lot. And that's kind of how I got into watching Collider more. And something about Andy really always turned me off. I really enjoyed the other guys on the channel, which is why I watched it. But his personality always kind of put me off. And so I stopped really taking in a lot of their content probably 6 months ago, outside of Honest Trailers. But I don't know. It was just something about him that I just did not like. I thought there was something off about him. And I know a lot of people who did not mind him, but, you know, that's fine. I don't know. This whole situation is just difficult. It's I don't know. You think you know people because you see them on the internet. This is a good lesson for people who are fans of internet content. You think that you know a person because you watch their content, but you don't. Because we are fans of their content, and no matter how many times you tweet at someone or they, you know, give your tweet a like or something, like, you don't know them. They're still people that are their own people and you don't know. Now, this can go either way where, you know, you don't know them. And so if you harass someone that you don't know, that's bad. But, you know, you also are very shocked if something like this does come out because you assume that everyone on the internet is a good human being, and that's not always the case. So it's always good to protect yourself. It's always good to not put yourself into these situations. And if you are in these situations, you save every single thing that happens, every email, every message, everything, all of it. Because you never want this to happen and for people to tell you that there's no proof, so they can't help you. Like, yeah. And that's the day and age that we live in, where I have to sit on here and tell people to have proof of harassment. That's how I feel about life. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Evan, one thing I want to say to you, Evan, is I doubt it's the first or last time you were able to shake the hand of a person that did something fucking terrible. It's probably happened more than you know.
Yeah.
But it's just my 2 cents is it's just these things where it's always like if you watch the Netflix show like The Keepers and stuff like that, it's just these people that you put your trust in, like you work with them and you go to these events with them and you are trusting them to do right by you. And then that trust is broken. And where do you trust again? Where do you keep your faith? I mean, it's a terrible, terrible thing. And people use that. They see your loyalty as a sign of weakness, and they will use that and they will manipulate you because they have the money and you need this job. So I'll do whatever I can. And it's terrible. It's sickening. And it's the culture. It's everything that we've all talked about. We, in a certain way that we all kind of just pile on and talk about it. We don't talk about it enough, that's for sure, but we seem to only talk about the outer edges of it, never really get into it because it makes us uncomfortable, or oh, we don't need to talk about that. You're going too far. But the conversation needs to happen, and it needs to keep happening. And we're not going to be silent forever. People that want to talk about it will talk about it, and they should talk about it. So keep talking about it.
Yeah, I think you have to at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we have to talk about it, and it is one thing that we can't hide, and we can't, go, oh, that's uncomfortable. This is, it's the talk we actually all really need to have. One other thing that I did want to mention that, okay, I'm not trying to take anything away from the victims or anything, but I have nothing but pure respect for JTE after this. And to be able to go into work every day for 3 months, knowing full well what that man was doing to your girlfriend, and that and people, and I have seen comments, and I am disgusted by some of the comments of people saying, oh, he should have just said something. He should have. They did. They tried. They were trying to say something, and nothing was happening because of it. And that is the disgusting and sickening part. And his job was threatened. So I do just want to say, JT, I'm not taking anything away from April. I'm not taking anything away from any of the other victims at all. But JTE has gained a lot of respect. And so has every single one of you who have come out and talked about this. And you have nothing but our undying and absolute support. But man, this is everyone involved in this who has come out and spoken out about this, nothing but pure respect for you.
It's a difficult position to be in for people who not necessarily worked with Andy or in that position, but people who saw him consistently, people who have done work with him. Like, if you haven't heard about it, what's your first initial gut reaction? I was friends with this guy. We did work together, and then you get this. And then, your next step is, how can I help these people? And the next step is, how can we handle the bigger problem? There's so many layers to pull back and then to put back on with, a better foundation in this community that we have built ourselves, in which I have to say most of these fans have been fantastic. Most of the fans in the community have been really well and really well thought out. You're gonna get those few. We're gonna have to, hey, you can't say that. That's wrong. That's incorrect. But for the most part, the general consensus and a lot of forums that I follow, at least, I could be wrong. You three are obviously admins of NTS. You guys see more than I do. And also, I've been busy all day. It's a different story. But the general consensus I'm getting is the community has become tighter because of this. And it's one of those things. It's like, first you kind of have to break down the house in order to build a new one. And I'm wondering, maybe this new foundation that this community is starting to build will become more accessible and more reliable for those victims who are being harassed on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And Kristen, do you have anything else?
No, I mean, yeah, there have been some people not aware of why JTE was quiet about this and why he continued to work at that place. And the biggest issue was that him and April had been working with HR. They had put in issues with HR about this. They had tried to go about this the correct way. And from what April has said, she was basically told by Andy, like, if you talk about this at all, then I will fire JTE. And so they were put into a position where they were being extorted, which is illegal. And if there's proof of that, then I hope that it goes to the courts, because that is illegal. And harassment is obviously not great, but there's not a lot that they can do legally unless there was something else that happened. So the most that can happen is that he can lose his job. If there is something more serious behind this, then he could go to jail. But at this point, losing his job would be great, because he shouldn't be employed there. Now, he has been suspended pending an investigation, which is the correct thing to do in this situation by a company. I'm assuming that the investigation will have a lot of things that come out. But yeah, it's just frustrating to me to see when people are talking about JTE and not understanding the situation he was in. I mean, because you're in a situation where you have to look at this guy every day that you're at work with him. And yeah, he's got a lot of props from me on this, the way that he's been supporting April. And yeah, I wish that they can get some comfort knowing that the story is out and they don't have to hide this anymore, and they don't have to wait, because they were going to put this out to a major news source. They were going to get all the evidence they could. They were going to put it all into an outlet and then send it and have it printed. And then that's how they were going to make this known. But I'm hoping that they have some comfort knowing that it's all out there, and that they, they don't have to deal with this as a secret anymore.
Yeah. Scourge _77 does bring up JTE is also a victim in this case, and he very much is, because he was put in a situation that he was put in a situation that was essentially extortion. And yeah. Aaron, do you have any closing statements? We might start wrapping this one up. As we've been talking about this for an hour, and I don't think there's much more we can really add to it.
Not until we get more.
Yeah,
I wish there will be more.
I just want to make a quick statement about JT.
No,
guys.
Go.
I can assure you, people out there that are wondering, like, well, why didn't he come forward? I can assure you that every day that JT was in that office after that happened, he wanted to stomp Andy Signor's fucking guts in. I guarantee you, he wanted to do that. It's an unwinnable scenario for somebody in that case. You put your girlfriend's going through the absolute worst thing. She's going through it. She's putting her head on the chopping block. Your head's on the chopping block. Your livelihood's on the chopping block. And some people can't just walk away and expect and everything's going to be okay. Like, it doesn't work that way. So how people could blame JT in April is unbelievable to me. How could you? It's I don't even want to think. I'll get angry, but JT, a hell of a guy, always been a hell of a guy. So my heart breaks for him. My heart breaks for April. My heart breaks for everybody. I just wish, like, I don't know, like, I don't know the guy from a hole in the wall. Like, out of talking to these people on the internet, I barely know them, but all I want to do is just be like, you know what? Like, I'm here for you. Like, if you need something, I'll do it. I don't know what I can do, but I keep the conversation going is all I can do. And you can't be silent forever. I'll close with this, guys, and I'll just wrap up my piece here. Keep talking, keep it going, keep it trending, get it trending more. All these big outlets are picking it up. It's not going to go away. Keep talking, keep the conversation going. Don't be quiet about it. For those of you that have come forward, we believe you, we support you, we are here for you. That's all I'm going to say.
I'll give my thoughts right now. Before I give my closing thoughts, I do have to say, instead of little evil, he is little hero in all the hearts. And I'm being serious. Like, he was just live with Andy Signor yesterday.
Thursday.
23 hours ago, I think it was. That's insane. The amount of courage he has to do that is impeccable, and something that not a lot of people have. And the victims of who have been sorry for more poor language, the people who have been victimized of these acts, not from just Andy Signor, but anyone in this Hollywood space, the amount of respect I have for you, because you learn something new every day from these things that happen. The amount of respect I have from you guys, not from you guys, I apologize, for you guys, is on another level. Because I saw something in a new light today. You know how they say you learn something new every day? Today I learned something new, and it's a pretty big new thing to learn. You're aware of these things. You're going to college, just whatever. You're aware. You know that they happen. You know that they're bad, but you don't realize the extent that it really is. And I think today I've finally learned the extent and what it truly means. And I think that's where I'm officially, putting my hand in and trying, anywhere I see it now, respects women, respects people, respects the cultures, respects society as a whole. That's where we need to start as in our little community. And that's where I need to start in my school. And that's where, Jacob needs to start in his workplace, That's where, anyone really just needs to start. And I think, I hope there are some legal charges at Defy Media, because that will really shake the industry up a bit. And I think that's an important place to start taking charge. So those are kind of my closing thoughts. I probably missed out on a lot. I apologize. My words are all over the place. I'm still in shock. I'm still digesting all this, I think, like the rest of us are. Kristen, do you have any final closing thoughts?
Yeah, so just in case there is anyone listening who has been in a situation like this, or of someone who's been in a situation, or in case you ever are in a situation, never feel like you cannot speak out about this kind of thing. It's almost harder to speak out about it than it is to not speak out about it. But not talking about it will impact you longer than if you say something, from experience. So, my first job I ever had, I was dependent on servers. I bussed tables at a restaurant at a concert venue in the summers, and I was dependent on servers for their tips. And so they hold some power over you. And there was one who was maybe a little inappropriate to a few people, but no one ever said anything about him. And he was fairly inappropriate to me as well, and would request that I would be in his sections at work, and would say things that were inappropriate, and would do things that were inappropriate, without getting into specifics. But you feel very trapped in situations where you're taken advantage of. You feel like you have no power. You feel like there's no escape, that no one cares because they're doing it in a public place, and no one said a thing about it. And no one stood up for me. No one stood up for anyone else that he did stuff to. And he was able to continue doing that stuff. And, I don't know what happened to him, and I really don't care what happened to him, but I said nothing about it because I was young. I had no confidence in myself. I learned from watching other people turn a blind eye to the situation that I would get no support if I said anything about it, that I was not important enough to be protected, and that I should accept the situation because there was nothing that I could do to change it. And that is how a lot of people in the society feel. That is how a lot of young girls and women feel at their jobs and at their schools and in their daily lives. They feel like they are not valued, that they are not protected, and that there is nothing they can do to change their situation, because there are people who will take advantage of them, and there are people who will turn a blind eye at that. And even if you do come forward, being met with criticism and skepticism, and being told that there's nothing that they can do to help you, it's a losing battle. And so if you can come forward, please do. The more people that come forward about this kind of thing, the more people that talk about it and are open and honest, the more that it can change. I have never talked about this before because I have never felt that I could, because it is something that is discouraged. It's something that is not made possible by a lot of venues. And that is something that has to change. This cannot continue in our society. People cannot be made to believe that they are less than other people. If you know someone who is going through this, encourage them to do the right thing for themselves and for other people. The more people that can talk about this honestly, the more it will change. And I wish that I had been brave enough to say something in my own situation. But I am also very thankful that there are people who are brave enough to come out about their situations. And I will offer my full support to those people. And I mean, it breaks my heart that this stuff still happens. So, I mean, there's not much that can be said other than this should not be happening. It's 2017. Let's grow up, guys. Let's be a better society. We are better than what we have going on right now.
Well, guys, I think, yeah, I'm not following that one up. So thank you, guys, everyone here. Thank you for this. We thank you for actually being able to have a chat. And Kristen, thank you for that. Aaron, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Evan, thank you for being here and having a chat, because this was an important chat. It was one we needed to have. And it's one that I hope is and I hope, my hope out of today is that more people are encouraged to come out and say something when this is happening, because I hope that the support everyone got, I hope that the support that April, Brienne, Emma, Danny, everyone got, I hope that with that support, they know that they can come out and they will have support, and that they will not be shown the door, and they won't be told you're wrong. But guys, we're going to leave it there, I think. So thank you everyone for joining on this chat. And I think we'll see you on the other side for hopefully some more happy and fun videos that we have up that are not so serious and not so heart-wrenching and heartbreaking. So thank you.